Tillman.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Well, welcome to the show, everyone. Joseph Tillman, how are you today?
I am spectacular. Thank you for asking, Spencer. How are you?
You know what? I can't complain. I mean, I can complain, and I think I will, but it's not necessarily to do with kind of the inside baseball of the industry. But in a way, it might a little bit. But you let me know. So I woke up pretty depressed this morning.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I was contacted yesterday. And by the way, guys, I'm putting this out there. In general, I cannot respond to DMs through Instagram. So for all of you guys who send me DMs and ladies, and you're like, why doesn't this guy ever respond to me? I usually don't dig into the, what are the private ones, the hidden ones? I don't even know the vernacular for Instagram.
Oh, the requests? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're requests.
Yeah.
But for some maybe sadistic reason, yesterday, I decided to. And holy cow, first of all, it's important for everyone to know I cannot help you in general through the comment section on Instagram. That's why this show is so important, and that's why we do the program. But I was scrolling through some of the stuff, and this guy with a lot of exclamation points, it just hit me. I opened it. I read this guy's story in brief. He sent me several texts in a row. And to try to make a long story short, this guy ended up going, I'm not going to say where because everyone thinks that I'm just picking on one country. Went to another country to have a hair transplant about 2 years ago. He actually found our content, this broadcast, and at the time, my very small Instagram page, discussing the issues that could occur for, if a young man decides to have a large session FUE hair transplant, and also what the real risks are for going overseas. Then he apologized to me. He was one of the guys that wrote on my, and I know who he is, wrote on my Instagram that, I'm too old to know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about ancient history. That was the first thing. And B, he said something about me being a hater and that I'm just jealous, again, because I was older and I couldn't understand why it was so important for a young person to want to get their hair back. Now, that's not an uncommon comment. It's a weird fucking comment, but it's not uncommon.
It is.
This guy wrote back, first apologizing, and he didn't need to apologize because his story is really effed up. But essentially saying he wished he would have listened to me, and I guess assuming to us, because he found the broadcast. And he wished that he didn't listen to one person in particular who it really pisses me off, who's online, who's become pretty well known on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
This person essentially said to ignore us.
Really?
Yeah. And that, again, we have outdated ideas. This person went to this particular clinic, yada, yada, yada. So again, third time I said this, long story short, The first year he felt he did okay. He was like, oh, I made a good decision. Now he feels completely devastated. His hair loss started to progress quickly. Second year of hair transplant, which is not uncommon. It happens. His fear is that medication stopped working for him. He wouldn't take oral medication. He's using topical, using RU58841. Who knows where he's getting this shit from?
Yeah.
And then he started someone that we know's topical preparation, finasteride preparation, which he believes put him over the edge as far as a shed, which is possible anytime you put anything in your head.
Okay.
Anyway, so he decided to assess his situation. He went to an IAHS surgeon, and they took a look at him, and they said, given the circumstances and given the amount of grafts that were removed and given his age, they do not believe, and this is a guy who does repair surgery, that he's going to be completely repairable. Totally dense, packed hairline. Looked like a wall of hair after it first grew in. He was stoked.
Of course.
Now that it's gone, and then some of the hair that was moved already miniaturized and fell out, he's left with stalks. I mean, you got to see this guy. Young kid. Guess how old he is?
What it looks like already.
Guess how old he is?
22? 22.
No, close. 24.
Still. Makes zero difference. 2
So-
years makes zero difference.
So now the kid is like, can I please pay you for a consultation? I'll fly to Los Angeles. Whatever. I need your help. I'm like, listen, you have access to the best doctors in the world. You can get assessed by everyone and see what can be done. But every point, and this is funny, it's depressing, but this is ironic, because every point that I make online, pay $3,000 for a hair transplant now, end up paying $50,000 to try to get it repaired and look maybe normal. That's his next step. That's what's going to happen. So he's going to need multiple procedures. Now he's talking about body hair. I mean, it was text after text after text after text. Bottom line is he wishes he never did anything, given the fact that he looked better prior to the hair transplant. And if he just took medication, maybe he'd be in a better position today. So I woke up like I had this kid on my mind, and I was pretty depressed about it. Now, I know a lot of guys be like, well, fuck this guy. No one, this guy told me to go fuck myself 2 years ago. Sorry, Joe.
That's fine.
But
at this point.
Yeah. But this is reality. This is a real story. And you think it's just, this is one guy who reached out to me with this story. This wasn't just a guy who made a mistake and then 3 months later realized, or 4 months later, that he got botched. He didn't think he was botched. He didn't know. And
of course not.
It's unusual, actually, to happen as quickly as it did. It usually takes, if you don't realize you're botched the first year, it takes maybe 3 to 5 years before you really realize you are screwed. This guy's hair loss was accelerated, I think, because he kept jumping on different meds.
Yeah.
But anyway, nape to crown, all extracted. Barely any hair to do anything with. Frontal hairline some of it has to be removed, for sure. And maybe some of those grafts could be then used, honestly, when you look at the guy, it looks like they were cut to size grafts. They don't even look like they were naturally occurring follicular units, like mini and micros.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh.
So, bigger punches.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm thinking about what we do, thinking about how long we've been doing it, thinking about the shit that we get and that I get. I got some shit today online. But I have to put that all aside and think about these people who get fucked up. And I guess what depresses me is that no matter how hard we bang our heads against the wall, these kids are so stubborn. They will take the word of an idiot selling derma rollers or whatever, who happens to have built a decent YouTube presence or Instagram presence, over actual people in the trenches. Guys who are involved in the field, in the trenches along the way as this field developed. Two guys who know where all the bodies are buried. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to this kid's life. And I don't know why it affected me the way that it did this morning. But there's a part of me that's like, sometimes I'm like, are we wasting our time? Should we just shut this camera off? I'll do what I do. I have the organizations, and I could write another book. You know, my income has nothing to do with this broadcast or Instagram or anything that I do. I mean, publicly. I just shut up and let it ride. Because then these lives, they wouldn't enter my world. You know what I mean? I'll know what's happening, but they wouldn't be part of my world. They wouldn't be asking, A, they're not going to get pissed if we say the wrong thing. B, they're not going to be upset if they realize we said the right thing and they got screwed up and now they want our help. So anyway, the whole situation just depressed me today. And I have to say it's not getting any better.
I get it, man. I've been in that position myself where it just doesn't have to be a situation where someone has reached out and said, I got botched, I need your help, and here's a situation, like, honestly, what you're describing is par for the course. Like, I can't count how many times I've had that kind of interaction. Not, carbon copy where someone told me that you got, all those details, but I mean, it's a regular occurrence. If they're not saying I wish I had listened to you more closely, or I wish I'd taken you more seriously, it could be more along the lines of I wish I'd found you sooner.
That's common, yeah.
That's almost every day. And then these issues where people that have made huge mistakes with just one surgery, which you didn't see 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
It didn't happen.
One surgery.
Yeah.
It wasn't physically possible. Yeah. Except for, extenuating circumstances.
Look, the larger cases were 2,500 grafts, and they had a stretch back, they had bad strip, but it was all repairable.
Yeah. It was all fixable.
Yeah.
Of course. And now it's not. It's not fixable in many cases. At least not. I've always preached that for every one surgery you get, or every person that gets one surgery that's terrible, it's going to take at least 2 surgeries just to get back to baseline of looking normal before you can start to add on to, to get to your ultimate goal. In these cases, these guys don't even have that. And that is depressing. But what can we do? What can we do?
Nothing.
Are we reaching some people? We are reaching people, and it's frustrating. And for someone that has another YouTuber to say to this person that you and I don't know what we're talking about, it tells me that, one, they have a financial affiliation with maybe the clinic that this guy went to, or they just have a general disdain for our approach because it cuts into their bottom line somehow. That's the only reason why that would be the case.
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure. But there's also, in general, anyone in the industry making money, in general, we are able to work with certain people. But whether they're forum owners or people who moderate forums or whomever, in general, these are not great people, and they have absolutely I believe, made people make the wrong decision based on their either jealousy or disdain, general dislike, whatever, for us, for you or me. They've been fed misinformation, especially the younger guys who are newer into the game, like 10 years or so, fed all this bullshit, and they just regurgitate it. Yeah. And these kids are harmed. These kids are like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, what are they? They don't know what they're talking about. I'm definitely going to get a hair transplant, but I'm going to go to your website and make sure that I go to the doctors that, your community recommends or whatever. And then they come back to me. Or to you.
Or to me.
So, anyway, it affected me. I mean, I've been affected by this before, but I just woke up depressed. And you know what? I have a pretty good life. No reason to be depressed about anything. But I think it's difficult to articulate when you put content out there. And again, I this isn't about me. It's about what people, what people are spoon-fed, the misinformation that's out there. I hate to use that term, but it's the truth. Confirmation bias, especially in the guys that went out, they had their $3,000 hair transplant, and they're go on to their second procedure because they think that's normal. First of all, it is normal to have more than one procedure, but it's so close. These guys initially go in, they think it's going to be one and done. Then they realize, I just want more hair. So they're not even told they're going to need another surgery, but they go in. So they spend a total of $6,000, and they get like 8,000 or 9,000 grafts moved somehow.
Supposedly.
And now they're in it, man. They are knee deep. That's it. So they have to fight me. They have to say that I don't know what I'm talking about. They have to say there are thousands of examples online of happy patients. Oh, yeah, they may be happy now. They may be happy now.
Yep.
But I promise you, and I don't want anyone to be unhappy, sadly, they're going to be like this kid or moving in that direction within the next few years. Eventually, there's going to be nothing left for them. There's going to just be scar tissue on the back of their heads. Some of the hair may be continuing to grow. Some may not. They're going to be left with nothing but their dick in their hands and a scarred head. And so they're like, you know what? I'll take the chance. I'll shave it and do SMP. Good luck with that.
That's a whole nother ball of wax.
I mean, good luck. God. Even if you are somehow, every dot on your head somehow is able to take and hold in that scar tissue without bleeding out. And eventually getting this confluence of color all over your scalp on scar tissue. That'll be an anomaly. You'll be the guy that every SMP company uses to say that we can save you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is very rare. Yes, can good SMP or trichopigmentation help with scarring in the back? Make people have a more normal appearance or a less scarred appearance if it's done right? Yeah, for sure. How long will it last? We don't know. But you don't want to go into surgery thinking that this is your out. That if all else fails, I'll just shave my head. Do you know how many guys tell me? They're like, yeah, listen, if it doesn't work out, I'll just shave my head. No, that's not. And then they bring up like Joe Rogan. Well, Joe Rogan shaved his head. Yeah, Joe Rogan had 2 or 3 strip procedures. So he has a linear scar, which is pretty significant. But it was still one scar in the back of his head. Everything else was normal scalp tissue.
And make no mistake, he had that treated heavily, laser or something, to minimize it as much as possible with his shaved head. Because at this point, it's nothing like it used to be. I remember what it used to be like, and now it's not like that. It's definitely improved. He's had something done to it.
I don't know what he's done. To me, it looks like he may have even had some SMP done to it. It's possible. I don't know.
Yep.
But there was one point when we were in contact many years ago, of all places, MySpace, and which is wild. And he did bring up his scar. What can be done? And at the time, I was still a little naive at the time. You know, I was like, it's possible to fill it in to some degree with FUE, but then I said, then you're going to have some punctate wounds around the head, so you have to go to someone who's really, really good at that. But I'm glad. I don't think he did that, so I'm glad they didn't. But he was also extremely lucky because it doesn't look like he had any cobblestoning or ridging, so he was able to shave the top of his head and look normal. It's pretty unusual, honestly. Pretty unusual. So if you have FUE, you can't do it. You're done. It's over. You have no chance of ever doing that, especially in today's environment. Now, if you had FUE performed relatively conservatively with someone who understood how to really utilize small punches and not create that confluence of scarring, I've seen people shave down after they felt they were dissatisfied with the end result after a few years and look pretty normal. But again, that's rare. It doesn't happen if you're going overseas. If you're going overseas, you're scarred for life. That's it. This is surgery. You get cut, you're cut. It's over. So you better make sure you're doing the right thing, you're making the right choices. Because there's no safety net. All right, guys, phone lines are open again, 888-659-3727. I'm not really that depressed. I was depressed this morning, but I got over it. It is what it is. You know, we'll continue to do what we do. And for all of the people out there that are so concerned about me telling the truth on social media, you got to deal with it. I'm sorry that you jumped in. You were the guinea pig. You believed the hype. We're here to provide you with reality. Reality. You know, it's funny. So I put up, I remixed one of our IHS members, and he also is a hair transplant mentor member, Dr. Aaron Nussbaum's, one of his reels. I thought it was a good reel. And the before and after, I mean, the naturalness of this guy's work was unbelievable on this patient. And this one kid posts a comment saying he's never seen a hair transplant that looks 100% like like a head of hair before someone started to lose their hair. I forgot how he presented it.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, dude, do you not have a hair transplant, man? You know, you can't.
Yeah.
Just don't have it. You don't even stop thinking, stop reading the page, stop thinking about hair transplant surgery because hair transplants are not for you. If you want the illusion of a full head of hair, and if you want to look completely natural, that's possible. But I also think that these hairlines that we're seeing and these really dense, packed, crazy, like stuff that we're seeing online from these clinics overseas that have millions of followers, I think people think that's a full head of hair because it's, you know, they're putting 2s and 3s in the front hairline and they're creating this wall of hair. And when they actually see,
they don't even know that detail. They don't even know why. They just see a wall of hair. They have no concept of 2s and 3s.
Right, exactly. So when they see a really well executed, elegant hair transplant that looks like the guy was never touched, like he never had real hair loss, or maybe his hair is slightly on the mature side, not even thinning.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that wall of hair that's being created by people who may or may not be wearing sandals in surgery. I don't
want to get a hair transplant only to look like I need a hair transplant. That's what they're saying.
Exactly.
That's their approach, which is such a dipshit type of attitude.
It's sad. It's sad because they don't know what they're getting into. We're going to take some phone calls, Joe.
Yeah.
So let me give out the phone number again.
Yeah,
we have two lines open. 888-659-3727. Everyone else, hold on. I'm going to take this call and we will get to you. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hello?
It's May from Kazakhstan.
Holy cow.
Holy
May, what's happening, man?
May.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Happy New Year, brother.
We're good. We're good.
Happy New Year too, my friends.
Thank you.
I hope this year will bring us some good, and all these conflicts will be resolved in peace.
We hope so.
I hope so.
Well said.
I mean about in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to call you before, but I just couldn't make it. You know, it's 5. It's almost 6 hours. You know, it is nighttime.
Yeah, no problem, man. So what's up? How you been?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm planning on the second surgery because I was thinking about 2 surgeries from the very beginning, because I saw that video on the Heading YouTube channel with the guy who had 8,000 grafts, and I asked the Dr. Morisano to give me 8,000 in the first operation. He told me, nope, your donor area do not provide so many grafts within one operation. Yeah, that's why I'm going to go for the second.
Okay, and did you just tell us how many grafts did you have total for your first?
4,500.
Wow. Okay, so you had that's still significant.
It is significant, but you know, it is not. It wasn't fit my very goals.
Sure.
Now it is year before or after, and it looks pretty good, I think. Well, at least it is 20% less than their best results displayed on their YouTube channel. But I think it's okay.
Good.
And my frontal and my middle or top is more dense than my crown, and it looks a bit strange. That's why I put concealer on my crown. And Dr. Morisano told me that we're gonna. Dr. Morisano told me that we're gonna start with the crown and go forward in the second operation.
Okay, so what does he think? What does he think of your donor now? I mean, obviously he didn't think you had enough for, and I'm glad that he didn't push the envelope for your first procedure. So at least you know, all right, these 4,500 grafts or 4,400 grafts grew in well. I like the way things are placed. You feel like you have one of the better results that you've seen online or within that, you know, higher percentage or that better ratio or better percentage of people. When he's talking to you now, yes, he can improve things, but when he looks at you, I mean, you haven't been able to see him in person. You're just doing everything online right now, right?
Right, but of course he assessed my donor area potential, or how to say, my donor area
for the future
during the first operation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in the beginning of the first operation, he looked through my donor area. He said, "Yeah, you can your donor area is able to provide 8,000 or maybe even 10,000, but only from several strips, from 2 strips." And he told me that he'd do only 1 strip in 1 operation. Of course.
Okay. So, and I think that's an interesting point, important for younger listeners. So you had your procedure, which I don't think you mentioned at the beginning of the call, that you had a strip procedure. And I remember what you were going for from our past conversations. But that's why you're able to get the grafts that you're getting. You understand that, right?
No.
That's why you're able to get the numbers. That's why you're able to get the numbers that you're getting.
That's why. Why?
Because
I have my donor, that guy.
Because you because you went to a doctor who's still doing strip procedures, which is great.
Yeah, I'm still doing my strip procedures because that Dr. Murisana, I saw that video that was on the Joe's channel, and that Dr. Murisana explaining that it is better to get as much as you can from strips and then from
I agree.
FUE because
that's my mantra that most kids your age just don't listen to. So I'm glad that you saw that video.
Kids of my age, I'm 42 years old.
Oh, I thought you sound so much younger, man. I thought you were in your 20s.
It's compliment. That's a compliment.
Yeah. You sound like a kid.
I sound like a kid. That's why maybe you treat me like a kid.
Oh, you see? Are you going to make me hang up on you now, man? We're trying to be nice here.
Let's go with some discussion containing some criticism. Are you ready for this? I'm gonna do it polite and.
I don't know if I don't know if Joe is ready for it, but I'm ready for it, brother.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. Hit us. Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's go. It is for good. You know about that number of singles. Yeah, you told me that I shouldn't pay attention to number of singles while I am have conversation with a surgeon. Yeah, but to me, it looks a bit impractical from the risk management point of view because a clinic decreases the level of caution of the listeners, of potential patients, because it increases the risk that a clinic can sell you HT with the lower number of singles while you need a higher number of singles. That's a risk management which I would apply being in my place. And I think I represent, because statistically speaking, I think I'm an average person who has all the variety of choice.
I see Joe shaking his head on my monitor. Joe, what do you want to say?
Well, I appreciate
this very.
No.
Let me finish, please.
Yeah, finish your thought. Yeah, finish your thought. Yeah.
It is my risk management. I also disagree with you when you were saying that if you have a coarse and thick black hair, you perhaps need less number of singles, or maybe I just didn't understand you well. But my first point, that from the risk management point of view, it is not impractical because, I have to develop some benchmark in my mind while doing my researches. For my benchmark is 1,000 singles, and that benchmark is a point from which I go up or I go down. And if I go down, that surgeon have to explain me why should we go down. And if he say something what fits to me, to my understanding, then I go with that doctor. And why risk management is important? Because, when I saw your video first about necessity of having only singles on the front line, you shifted my mind from, from choosing poor clinics to better clinics, right? But among those better clinics, there are levels. There are good clinics, there are okay clinics, and there are elite clinics. Some surgeons, you call them elite, and I believe you call them elite based on their results, not just based on overall experience, pre-meal or etc. And I want to go with elite, and how I separate elite from good. I have consultation. I try to understand whether the doctor is honest to me. For instance, say the doctor knows that you need.
May, I want to interrupt you for just a minute because you're getting pretty deep into this. So I want to back up and I want to address what you're calling the critique of. We'll talk with the first one about how I told you not to focus on the number of singles. The reason why I said that to you is because in multiple conversations, both on the show and then I believe behind the scenes between you and I in messages. I may be misremembering that, so forgive me if I got that wrong. But my impression about you at the time was that you were focusing too much on a number that you had no idea how to quantify. You as a layperson, you as a patient could not at the time explain to anyone what the difference in 300 singles in the front would do versus 600 singles in the front. You had no concept of that. All you were focusing on was the number.
I have experience.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I let you speak. Let me speak now. Okay. It's the same argument that people try to present when they talk about density. They go to a doctor and say, "Can you do 45 grafts per square centimeter?" Doctor can say yes, or he might even say no. The patient immediately wipes that patient or that doctor off of a list and moves on to the next one, and they don't know what 45 per square centimeter will look like on them. They don't understand their own hair characteristics. It may look fantastic on them, but they have no concept of that actual fact. So when you were talking to me a lot about, like, you were hyper-focused on the number of singles, I remember the conversations, you couldn't explain what the difference was. So I was telling you not to focus so much on the actual number of the singles as opposed to looking at the results that you see from the clinic that you're considering and look to see if there are singles in the hairline as a majority of the grafts placed. That's the difference. Because when you're focusing on the actual numbers themselves on paper versus what you're seeing with your eyes as a final result, what do you think is more important? What's more important to me is the visual and aesthetic outcome. Because you can take two different patients from two different clinics, and the clinic that hits that will use your number of 1,000 single hairs in the hairline can look like dog shit compared to an elite clinic that does maybe 400 singles in the hairline. The number on paper is irrelevant as long as the final result looks natural with, again, the proper number of singles in the front. Does that make sense to you, or are you sticking to your guns?
Well, I do understand what you're trying to say, but your arguments, well, first of all, it is important what listeners would choose for themselves, right? It is not necessarily important whether you agree with me or I agree with you. We just
No, that's true.
Discussion.
But you're saying it's a critique, so I'm responding to the critique.
Well, yeah, the criticism, I still stick to this term, but you said something about 1,000 grafts, which looks like a shit, and 400 singles, which looks better, right? Well, show me that example. It's just technically doesn't sound to me. You exaggerated. I do understand that. I am a reasonable
May, let me
person.
ask you a
I'm not
question.
kid.
Are you an engineer? Are you an engineer?
Don't come on, man. It is
Answer the question.
Not a rocket science. It is no. I am.
Yes.
You're right. You're right,
I have
mate.
three education.
It's not rocket science.
First
of all, guys,
I am a programmer.
I'm glad that I.
Boom. Relax.
There you go.
Let's try to relax.
Oh no. You know what, May? I'm gonna tell you to relax. I'm gonna speak, and then you can speak. I'm glad that I decided to go to the kitchen and put some Jameson in my cup. By the way, because this is like I went away. I put on my speakers. And it sounds like you guys are having a slugfest. Okay, mate. The floor is yours. The floor is yours, brother. Let's just be cool with each other. If you hear me talking, you know what you do? You say, "Oh, Spencer wants to say something. Let me listen to what he has to say." And then it's May's turn, and then it's Joe's turn, and that's how we have a productive conversation.
It sounds good, productive conversation. And he asked me whether. Am I an engineer? Well, I am a programmer in my first education, and I had some experience, 10 years of experience of programming, and after that I went to auditing. I audit.
I barely got out of high school.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So my question wasn't about your education. It was about the way that you think. It's your mindset, and I knew I've already known this by the way that you look at things. That you look at things black and white, and so what I was giving you was an example of a potential scenario of two different clinics.
Yeah, I got it.
So no, not exaggerating. It was an example. Those are two different words.
You say
an example.
1,000 is worse than 400. I think it's exaggerating. No, I get it. This example of potential situation. Yeah.
Well, my point about the 1,000, like, because we were talking about this before, and you were I don't remember the number of graphs that you were focused on in our previous conversations, but my point, to further my point about how I felt like you were focusing too much on the number of singles. It was because if you put 1,000 singles into a hairline, then you run into the probable lack of likelihood where the doctor can actually dense pack those singles enough to where it doesn't look too thin. That's part of proper hairline design. You do the singles in the very front with a very, very short transition zone into multi-hair grafts. You start packing 1,000 single hair grafts into a hairline, then that becomes an issue. Your doctor has to really be able to dense pack those properly, and even then, you're going to have a less of a dense appearance than you would if you had it created as most better clinics do, where it's singles in the very front, transitioning into doubles and triples right behind it for density. So ultimately, not to mention, you're also wasting those grafts, because to get 1,000 singles in a hair transplant surgery, you usually have to create them. You don't naturally find 1,000 singles in a typical 3,000, 4,000 graft surgery unless you create them yourself. So what you're also asking the doctor to do is to potentially put those grafts in harm's way, because the less manipulation and cutting of those grafts, the better it is for those hairs, the higher likelihood of more growth. So you're introducing all kinds of issues that you don't want to introduce for the best outcome. That's why I was telling you all this.
Sure.
It wasn't big. Like, I don't know why you think I would tell you this to begin with, but I was telling you this because I thought that you were focused on it too much, aside from, where the actual result, the aesthetic, is what people need to be considering. It's the same thing as when, these guys are looking to go to Turkey and they want their density all the way up to the front. They think they know what they want, but they haven't actually looked at it from a 30,000-foot view. They don't understand what it is exactly that they're asking for. You're a smart guy, but in this case, you were
apparently
too
well
focused on the
educated
numbers,
and a lot older than I thought he was.
Yeah, exactly. But you were too focused on the numbers for what I felt was your own good. So me telling you that was for your benefit. Okay?
Yeah, okay, but maybe there was quite a little bit of misunderstanding. But numbers, it is a starting point. When I first saw your video from necessity of having only singles on the hairline, the logical continuation to me was, how many do I have to put on my hairline? And this is starting point. When I'm talking to the doctor, and I'm talking about my case, about the guy who is in the process of decision making, which doctor he need to choose. For instance, I ask doctor, so are you going to put only singles on my hairline? He says yes, and I ask him how many rows you will fill with singles, and he need to explain me how many. He would say probably 500 or 600, and then I continue conversation. I ask, for example, it would 1 centimeter deep, or it would be less than 1 centimeter deep. It would be 3 rows or 2 rows or 1 row. That's about.
Look, I would tell you this.
Numbers numbers actually is quite universal language.
I will tell you this, May, and I don't think that you're incorrect. I think that being able to have that conversation with your physician before you undergo the surgery, A, to ease your mind and to get a better understanding. This is for any patient. And B, to also kind of, put the physician on guard that, this is what you're looking for. And maybe he'll try to, once he actually does perform the procedure, try to match those expectations. I can't speak. But I will say this. There are probably plenty of times where the physician will have a consultation, even elite doctors, with the patient during the consultation. You guys will set your goals, and then once they open you up, so to speak, things change.
Happens every time.
Every time they touch you, every time they open your skin, every time they take a look, every time they make a recipient saying, like, wait a second, I didn't realize how mushy this guy's scalp was, or whatever the issue is. Those numbers and a lot of the procedure could possibly change. So you're not guaranteed to have what you asked for, but I don't disagree with, if that's your process, it's a smart process.
This all too.
What was that?
Yeah, I consider this too, that the plan can be changed during the operation. Of course, I consider this
right.
too.
Well, you consider that because you're smart and because you understand that. But you're saying that this is a conversation for our listeners. A lot of the other listeners out there have no clue. They just heard this for the first time. That should be a consideration.
I think they understand. We are talking about numbers of singles, and numbers are quite a kind of universal language for people. We use numbers to get a better understanding of each other points. So we go with.
But medicine and surgery is not an exact science. It's not math. I understand what you're trying to.
Plus minus, man. Plus minus.
I understand what you're trying to accomplish in this conversation. I really do. And I don't think you're wrong. But the consumer, the patient, the person listening to this has to understand all the variables, that it's not just about numbers. I know you think they understand that because you understand it. It's clear to you, but it's not necessarily clear to those who are listening to this conversation. So I bring that up, not for you, May, but for them. Not as an argument against you, May, but so that we can enlighten the people who are listening to this. Does that make sense?
Well, it doesn't matter. I do this when I am at some kind of proactive stage, I interact with my local surgeons. Yeah, I have beef with them. And maybe you was at that stage. And I do this call for the listeners.
Good.
And I think that, you would say, give me just 1 minute. You would say that numbers is not only important things, but numbers are important. And if a doctor sends something, forget about numbers, man. I'm gonna give you a good look just with my skills, mixing those singles and doubles in the right way. And I would say let's cut the crap, man. How many plus minus it can be changed? You would
and then there are doctors who, if there are doctors out there who actually, if they were smart and a patient said, let's cut the crap, man, they'd be like, look, you're not a candidate for surgery, brother.
No. I'm not gonna say this. I'm just think about this. I'm not gonna say this, of course. Come on, man. It's just paraphrasing. For instance, Dr. Bloxham-Feller, he told me, I'm gonna put 800 singles, the younger one, on your hairline. And I did let them know that it is important to me how many singles. We just came to that number just, while the consultation. And he told me, usually I put lots of singles on the front line, and you can look at my YouTube videos when I do my wet comb through, and you see that many singles on the
The old wet comb through. Guys, hold on. We will take your calls in a second. I want to let May finish his thoughts. Go ahead, May.
Yeah. So, for instance, he told me 800. Well, I'm still going to heading games. Yeah, but before that, I wanted to explore some options. Then, yeah, and and he said, of course, usually the more it is better to put more singles rather than mix them with something. And of 800 is not so many. I believe it can provide some that transition. Yeah, it can provide some transition. And for instance, Dr. Morisano told me that if you put too many graft singles, yeah, you would look like a receiving guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Receiving.
That's exactly what I was telling you.
That's a huge problem that I see all the time.
Wait a second. But he told me that receding would look natural because receding it is natural. Sometimes
of course.
you see, and I think I go with that.
It can look natural, but there's also something to be said about, depending on your hair caliber, if those singles are cut and you have a heavier hair caliber, thicker hair caliber.
Listen, my friend, just one last point.
No. I'm speaking. I give you the floor. I get the floor. That's how a conversation happens. What I'm trying to say to the people out there is, yes, it could look like you have a natural receding hairline, or it could look like, even with single hairs, stalks of exclamation point looking hairs going 3 inches deep into your hairline, and then whatever naturalness you think you're going to have, that's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean you're talking about transition, right?
I'm talking about a transition. If you transition with too many singles, that I've seen in my almost 30-year career, guy looks like shit.
Well, show me. That's my last point.
I knew
if
it.
You show me a picture with too many singles, well, I would say that there is such cases. But I think personally, statistically, in 99% of cases, people get less singles than they should get. And I believe that that conversation, that question would be kind of matter of
Well, here's the beauty of medicine and this practice.
Between us.
Here's the beauty of this.
That's okay.
And we're going to take some more calls, maybe. Here's the beauty of this conversation, also the practice of medicine. You can speak to 50 different doctors who all end up getting great results for their patients consistently, and they're going to have slightly different answers for you and slightly different, reasoning for why they do what they do and why in their hands their patients seem to be happy. It's good that you've been able to find someone that can meet your expectations, who's willing to listen to you, and you guys are able to have a good conversation where, at the very least, I mean, you've already had your first procedure and you're thrilled with it. That's great. And my hope is that you're going to be thrilled with your second procedure. There's no reason why you shouldn't be, but, once you're cut again, every time you go into the knife, you take a risk.
I do want to ask one question of May. How many single hair grafts do you have in your hairline now? And is it what you were told, or what you were told you would get before surgery?
Well, we didn't have that conversation because I didn't have much experience.
Interesting.
And I have 500 and 500, and plus some of them are on my crown. Not all of them are on my hairline. But that Dr. Murisano, he applies sometimes a very not traditional, a very approach. My hairline is quite high, and he told me that I made it higher, but I can do it a bit lower. Maybe we're gonna need to put some hair on your temples, yeah. But for your temples,
so how many singles are in your hairline now? Your hairline, not the crown. I was asking you how many single hair grafts are now in your hairline.
Well, I believe 400 maybe, or something.
But you don't know. You're talking about numbers, dude.
You are so intent on the numbers, but you don't know what your numbers are now that you've already received. How does it look? Does it look natural to you?
It is look natural for a higher hairline who needs only lower number of singles. And I was talking about numbers when I thought about a bit lowering my hairline.
So listen, May, I just want to say that, first of all, we gave you a lot of time. I'm glad that you called. I don't mind continuing this conversation next week, but we're going to take some more calls. I hope that you at least think this was productive and that we weren't treating you like a kid.
Well, now you gave me time. You didn't interrupt me. You were not so patronizing, and thank you for that. And this is for the listeners' sake. And one little question: what's wrong with the wet comb through demonstration?
And don't you think it's patronizing to call me patronizing?
You were patronizing a bit. You were patronizing before.
Maybe you felt that way. Maybe you felt I was patronizing before because I was trying to conduct a radio show, and we also have a slight language barrier. But I don't know if someone whose English is their first language would think that I was patronizing when I was speaking to you. But it's possible. Listen, I could be wrong. What's wrong with the wet comb through? It's one of the biggest tricks in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. When will you tell me about this? When will you tell me about this? Why is this a trick? I thought that is an honest display.
It's honest display. It's a dry comb through. No, and also you don't want to. If someone's constantly showing you hairlines with those either elastic or those plastic headbands, run for the hills.
Shit. Okay, thank you for that.
All right,
I
brother.
have a lot of other discussion for the next week, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Criticism.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, don't worry. I just jotted your number down, so give us a call next week.
I got the.
All right, brother. Congratulations on your hair transplant.
Take care, May.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother. Take care. Bye-bye. 888-659-3727. Me? Patronizing?
Patronizing?
Let's see who this is.
Moi?
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, hi. Thanks for picking my call.
Sure.
I actually called a couple of weeks ago. My name is Adi. I'm actually going for hair transplant surgery in a month or so. I have a few questions actually for you guys. One is so I was actually trying to see if non-trim method for hair transplant is what you guys think about it, or do you guys like it, or you think that's not a good idea?
This may sound patronizing, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, non-trim as in when you get a hair transplant, right? So I have my hair. So usually what they do is they shave your head or they trim your head, hair on your head, right? So is it a good idea to? I was looking at online stuff like that. So there is a way to get the hair transplant done without trimming your existing hair, or maybe cutting a little bit. But what do you guys think about that? Is it a good idea, or any issues with that with respect to growing the actual?
Yeah, there's two ways to look at this based on how I see things. The first way to look at this is the clinic or clinics that you're considering. If the results that they're creating are to your satisfaction, something that you were looking at and say, wow, that's fantastic. I would love to have that kind of result. And those patients resemble you and your hair loss and your hair type and all that good stuff, then that's fine. And if they wind up being a clinic that routinely does not shave or trim, as you said, the donor or the recipient area during surgery, then they obviously are very adept at that approach. Okay, so that's one answer. But the way that I look at it personally is it's not very common to find clinics that make this a standard part of their routine. In fact, I only know of one clinic that does that. And I think that if a clinic says to you, we normally shave, but if you don't want us to, we don't have to, then you're compromising that clinic, and they're compromising themselves. Because the way I look at it is, if they do something a certain way and you're asking them to do it a different way, then why are you asking them to shortchange their approach for your convenience?
Okay.
Well, and also they don't have the experience for you that you need.
And the way that they get that result should not be compromised. You should not, you as the patient, and you being anyone out there watching and listening to this, should not approach a clinic and say, hey, I love everything you're doing. I'd really like to come to you, but can you do it differently? It doesn't, I don't feel like that's the best way to get a hair transplant.
Sounds like my sex life.
Yeah. So right. I was actually exactly that's what I was thinking. But they said, okay, we can do that. What they said was, well, we can do that. We actually do that in a couple of we handle patients like that. We do it. But in that case, we have to work more on you. There's a lot of time taking process. We can do it, but of course, we would charge more money to you.
Of course, yeah.
That's what I was debating.
Well, there are a couple of clinics out there, and there's one in particular. I think Dan Danio really likes to specialize in non-shave hair transplants. He's always doing it every day. And he's doing it himself. So if you decide if that's something you really needed, there are people docs who are doing it, who are really good at what they do, and they're doing it every day. It's not like, oh, we're going to make a special case for you, or we're doing 1 out of 100. That's not what you want.
Right.
If you pick the clinic, you're like Joe said, and you're happy with what you see, to try to push them to do something that they're not doing on a consistent basis. It's like asking in my view, it's almost like asking like a general, dentist to do your root canal. Yeah, he may have done it for you, or he's considering being an endodontist, but he just never followed through with it. But yeah, he can do it. Sure, you can jerry rig that for you. You don't want that.
Sounds good. Yeah, great. My second question is, the doctor saying that I should not take like vitamins or painkillers like at least a month before my surgery. What is the merit on that? Like, is it? Of course, I understand painkillers because essentially they might, some of the painkillers are like blood thinners and stuff. But
supplements can thin your blood as well.
Yeah, especially with vitamin E, things like that. Yeah. And I will say a month is kind of extreme. It's usually about 2 weeks with most clinics I'm aware of. But I mean, if they feel a month is better, then again follow their protocols leading up to surgery. Like you're not going to be sacrificing anything really if you stop taking supplements for a month, unless you're deficient in something. And in that case, you need to talk to your doctor about it and let them know.
Okay. Yeah, I usually like some AG1 stuff like every day in the morning. So those are vitamins. So it's just wondering how to get rid of that.
You listen to Joe Rogan, I take it.
Andrew Huberman, but
Huberman,
thank you so much.
Whatever, they're all selling the same stuff, but yeah. Yep. I mean, I love those guys.
Those are all my questions.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, listen, I hope we were able to answer your question.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Good luck. Take care. Bye. The phone number is 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. I don't know why I don't do this more often. The Jamesons in the coffee mug.
You're granting Rob Hellner's wish come true. He's always been looking for Drunk Spencer. Got an issue in the chat. I don't know if you got Dr. McGrath on text. If you can text him to see if this is actually him. Apparently there might be a imposter in the chat room posing as Dr. McGrath. Not sure. Can you ask him if he's actually still online?
I don't have his. Let me see if I can find his text. What's he writing?
Yeah. Some things that yeah. Not sure if that's.
Well, either the person is drinking, or that doesn't look like it's McGrath. There's no way he's going to put Big Black D.
No, it's not D. Here we go. So that is.
I see Big Black and then D.
Okay, so they're in a timeout now for 5 minutes. So we'll see if the real Dr. McGrath can step up on call.
Can the real Dr. McGrath, wasn't in that show? What's My Life or What's My Line?
What's My Line? I don't know if that was it or not.
I gotta find
Morty.
his contact
Hey,
here.
Morty's in the room.
Let's take a phone call.
Nice. Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, hi. This is Paul from Florida. How are you guys?
Hey, Paul. What
Hey,
part
Paul.
of Florida are you calling from?
I'm calling from Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, wow.
Right on. What's up? What can I help you with?
Yeah. Hey, Joe. I've called before. I'll try to maybe give you up to speed on me. I called you. Well, actually, you replied to my DM on Instagram one day, the day that I was about to take a flight to go see one of your clinics, ultimately the one I ended up choosing. I had also
responded to a DM?
You did.
That wasn't me.
So
I never responded to DMs.
I played the lottery and won that same day. Go figure.
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah, so to bring you up to speed, and I've never spoken to Spencer, I'm 38, Norwood 6, got a lot of ground to cover. Unfortunately, a repair patient, way too young, 21, got cut, so I'm cut. Two scars, one above each ear, roughly an inch and a half long each. I visited for the last 3-4 years. I've been doing my due diligence, listening to you guys, visited 4 clinics. One of them was your former buddy in Alpharetta, if you remember. After I told them I wasn't going with them, I got a really funny email back, I'll call it.
I remember you.
Then I ultimately...
Oh, wait a second.
There you go.
Well, you said I was trying to text Dr. McGrath.
That woke Spencer up.
Yeah, you said you got a funny text from our friend in Alpharetta.
That was one of the clinics I was considering, and I went to every clinic I considered in person. That was very important for me because I already got.
Tell us what the text was or the communication.
You want the juice right away?
Of course, why not? This is a show. Listen, this is a show where a bunch of balding guys who are depressed as it is come together every week. We should have a little fun.
You're right, man. I'll bring you that joy of giving you this juice.
All right.
I went and the consultation went okay. I got a funny feeling while I was there. Some of the things he said, he made a joke that really wasn't that cool after I thought about it. I was like, what happens if I'm not happy with the result? He literally said, I'll give you the gun myself. I kind of laughed it off at the time, but later I was like, that kind of wasn't cool.
This
But anyway,
fucking guy is unbelievable, man. Yeah.
they followed up with me afterwards, and when I told them that I was going with a different clinic, his son actually emailed me. And I showed the email to Joe at the time. His son actually emailed me, and it was like I was being scolded for not choosing them, basically. It was like a very entitled, weird attitude, and it made me feel so good that I had not chosen them. About 2 weeks after that was when Joe came on the air and she said everything that happened to him with that doctor, and I was like, holy shit, what a relief.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, his kid is cut from the same cloth. He doesn't have much self-control, and it's not
you know
good.
what? My feedback email, I told them as much. I told them, the interaction with his son rubbed me the wrong way. I feel that he was not very professional with the way he treated me and such, and the kid responded very defensively. And I was very nice in the way I said it, very professional.
I'm sure you were.
But anyway, fast forward to that, I then went to visit about a month later Dr. Wong, and that was the clinic that I have chosen.
I got to get that gong. Have you gotten that gong sound effect yet, Joe?
No, I need to. I need to.
Sorry.
That'd be good.
You see, this is part of the reason why I'm calling in, is because now I want Spencer to tell me the dirt, because I want to know if I picked the right doctor.
No,
I hear these remarks.
Dr. Wong. No, Doctor. I listen. I love Jerry, and he's great at what he does. And look what he did for Joe.
I know, man.
He's an interesting guy, though. He's always counting my money, like for years. I never understood it. It's always like, how much you making on this? Why are you making money on this? Why should you be making money on this? I'm like, do I ask you why you're charging patients what you charge? Shut up, do your job, and
I can live with that.
Yeah, I'm saying, shut up, do your job, and keep helping people. What do you got to do? What do you got to know how much money I make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if that's the only negative, then hey, man, I can live with him pocket counting you.
He is one of the superstars over the year. I mean, this guy, he's not going to even appreciate this, but this guy helped to change the game.
I know. From what I've seen.
I have a lot of respect for what he's been able to do for other human beings.
But
stay out of my pocketbook, Jerry. Do me a favor.
When I see him again, I'll tell him. But I do have some questions. This is something I've prepared for quite a while, financially, emotionally, mentally. I got a therapist to kind of help guide through me all this.
That's great.
You guys. Thank you. I'm a comb over
You had
wearer,
a therapist,
but I started
and this
going
other
on.
doctor said he'd give you the gun.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, man.
My God.
So, I know. So I've been preparing. I am 4 months away from surgery, and boy, does the mind wander. Boy, does the mind wander. You think you've made up your mind, and then every day,
of course,
Yeah. So I wanted to get a few questions in. First of all, since we were on the subject of the doctor, I noticed that, like Joe, you've never done really like a follow-up video with the clinic for at least as far as I can tell for a long time. I was wondering why, maybe. I asked them to an extent, like, how come your photos they're never really like that recent and things like that. And I asked it of two different reps at the clinic. One told me like, well, patients they're not really cool with it a lot of times. And then the other answer was, I thought the other answer was a little more frank. It was like, honestly, we kind of don't need to. And I was kind of cool with that. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
They've never been able to replace Joe. That's the thing. They've never been able to replace Joe.
That's true too. Look, the whole format at the clinic, as far as photos and video, which did set the standard in the industry. That's me patting myself on the back.
You deserve
it. That's one of the things that propelled them into the limelight and being who they are. Over the years, one of my projects was I'll never forget this. Back in like 2005, before YouTube, I actually took on a project of my own design where I was
Friday video or
have the
something.
clinic. Yeah, HD Video Fridays.
Yeah.
Every Friday, we're going to post a brand new video.
Dude. I'm going to say this, and I'm interrupting Joe to say this, but these guys are not going to like this. But if it was not, Joe Tillman put these guys on the map. Well, I'm going to say this. There was a guy named Mike contacted me early on when I just had the Bald Truth book, and I was starting to put stuff on the web, and he's like, "You got to look at these guys." So I think they need to thank this guy Mike initially for being able to be associated with us. With that said, they're not going to tell you this, but I turned down Jerry the first time to be a part of the organization just because he wasn't able to provide the greatest photos. And then eventually he got the photos together, and we brought him on. I think they were surprised about me not taking their check. But it was Joe who made Hassan Wong who they became. And I think he's done incredible work. So they're not doing the same thing. They're not putting their work out there. But their work, I would say, at least I know this from what I'm seeing, it's still pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's,
and
it doesn't affect the surgery, of course, but my was getting to is, they don't have the drive for two reasons. One, they also don't have the time. Like, you got a couple people, you got one person in the clinic that's supposed to be taking care of this. It's Christopher, who's the in-house consultant.
Nice guy.
He doesn't have this.
Yeah, nice guy.
Nice. I agree. Nice guy. Doesn't have the time to do this, and he's not making the time because he's got other things to do. But then there's also the other point is, we don't really need to, and I totally get it, and they're right. And a lot of clinics don't need to.
That's good.
My point, or my take on hair transplant clinics in general is you're never too busy to post results. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, very few clinics take that mantra after they get busy. They do get lazy, and that's what Hassan and Wong have done. They've gotten lazy, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it is what it is.
There's nothing wrong with it. Exactly. I'm glad I brought the question up to them and to you. When I got that reply, like, to be honest with you, we kind of don't need to. I was like, I can mess with that. That seems honest, and judging by
I do. Sorry to interrupt you, but I do.
No, you're fine.
I do have a problem with that on one level, and that is, like, if I'm working with a clinic and I'm not seeing any sort of updates to keep things current, then I ask them for updates. And if they can't provide me with updates to show me that they're still doing good work, then we got a problem. And I think I think that patience, and this again goes for everyone watching and listening, I think it's incumbent upon you guys to keep clinics' toes to the fire on this subject.
Absolutely.
Because you can tell them, you can actually tell them, hey, I know, like to answer to respond to that answer, you can say that makes a lot of sense, but how do I know that you're still doing good work?
Yeah,
how do I know that you're still doing the work that you did 3 years ago?
I didn't ask you. I'm going to let you finish your thought. But are you having FUT or FUE?
FUT.
Okay. Look, you're going to the right place. I mean,
good.
They have a tremendous amount of experience.
That's why.
And I'm going to say this because I actually it's going to come to play. You're going to notice that Dr. Victor Hassan is no longer part of the IHRS, and I want everyone to know that it has nothing to do with his work. He came to me with a very, I felt, uncomfortable request to advocate for him personally, to be a part of something that it was basically an article or a list that he felt he was unhappy that he wasn't included, that I had nothing to do with. And it was a very, I felt, aggressive posture to take. And I was just like, his renewal was coming up. I was like, you know what? That makes me uncomfortable. How about we just, part ways professionally? So I don't want anyone to think who's considering Dr. Hassan either that he's not part of the IHS because we removed him for some thing that he did as far as his work. I've just done that point in my career where I'm just like, I don't want to take any shit from anybody for no reason. You know what I mean?
And thank you for sharing. And it's important because stuff like that is what makes your guys' word very valuable to everybody that's going through this and listening in.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
If I may, the whole thing with the pictures and stuff, Joe, I couldn't agree more because, as a person that is not, I don't know you personally, I don't know you guys, I'm not involved with the clinic or nothing, one may wonder, as one does, does Joe just keep them on because he used to work there? Even though there are no recent photos and things like that, does he have a soft spot for them? Things like that. So you're right. Like, new photos are important. And I'll bring it up again when I'm there in a few months.
Well, I mean, Dr. Wong did change his life.
The fact that I don't even have Dr. Hassan on my website. You said those guys. He's never been on my website.
No. I meant those guys as in you two. I meant as in you and Spencer.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, I have no soft spot for those guys at all. I only had them on because they were some of the best in the country or in North America, and they deserve to be a part of it.
So,
you know?
And I felt like Dr. Wong to not be on my website would be hypocritical. Like,
right.
I mean, he obviously he's doing great work, but on me, like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him and the work that he did for me. So it would be hypocritical not to be on if I didn't have him on my website. Like he deserves all the kudos that.
But I would actually say they wouldn't be where they are if it wasn't for you. So you've already repaid them, my friend.
So I am in your guys' opinion, you know, I chose Dr. Wong aside because of the vibe and the feeling I got from him when I went personally. I saw the most number of cases of natural looking hair transplants on Norwood 6s consistently throughout years. Am I wrong in that assessment? In North America, at least. Perfect.
Look, especially with Dr. Wong, like he's not afraid to take on the big cases. And you know, one thing that I'm just, and sorry for the pause, I'm just kind of reflecting on how long I've known him and how long I've worked for him. He has an approach to areas of loss as large as yours and mine that very few doctors on this planet have. He's very. I'll tell you. I'll share with you something that Dr. Hassan told me very early on in my career at the clinic that I have never forgotten. He's in this. He'll never say this publicly, but he told me at dinner. He said that Jerry Wong has the most raw talent of any hair transplant surgeon he's ever met.
Wow.
Hands down. And it had to do with his unique insight into how to tackle a problem. That's one thing about Dr. Wong is, you know, I like doctors that doodle, that like to draw things, or, you know, they have this little artistic element that they express somehow. Yeah. And Dr. Wong doesn't draw. What he does is he builds shit. If he sees a need for a tool, but he can't find one, he invents it. Now, other doctors claim to do this, and that's fine, you know, different punches and patents, all that bullshit. Jerry doesn't do that. He just, like, the whole lateral slit technique idea for using custom cut blades. He used to take razor blades and he would cut them with garden shears, because there was no tool that was actually available to do that. And he welded on, he tack welded on this guide that he could slide the razor on, and he would just clip them by hand. And then eventually Dr. Hassan developed the actual blade cutter that became popular.
You know what's interesting, Joe? And it's interesting that they didn't realize there was a tool in the fur industry many years ago, and a lot of people probably don't know this. They use specific razors that they have to cut into a specific size in order to cut furs into slivers, kind of like hair transplant, which is interesting. There is a tool that's out there that cuts these blades in half. You can cut them in quarters, and if you wanted to just cut them to size, it already existed. So when I saw the tool that was manufactured by Victor and Jerry and that engineer, I was like, that's interesting. There's already something like that exists, but in a different industry. But I thought it was ingenious that they brought it into hair.
Yeah.
That's all great to hear. It makes me very confident in my choice of doctor.
Look, I'm very honest. I talk about people's personalities. I talk about my likes and dislikes, but I will never say anything that against a physician who's really doing good for people. And these guys are doing good.
I was only there for the consultation, but he seemed like a very genuine and kind person.
Yeah, who Dr. Wong? Yes. He's great. I always loved the guy. I just don't understand what's up his ass about me making money. But anyway, go ahead.
Hey, man. Anyway, and he when he touched my donor and all that, he was very confident, because I have curly, very coarse Latino hair. He was like, I'm very confident that we can get a very good result here. 2 surgeries.
How old are you?
And I'm 38.
Okay. All I can say is that
I got cut when I was 21.
Yeah. I mean, lucky you have curly hair. That probably helped to some degree.
Yeah, it does.
I would say that given your experience, given all the research that you've done, you've really moved in the right direction. I mean, it's in God's hands now and Dr. Wong's and the staff, but I don't think you could have made a better choice. I mean, there's a lot of great surgeons out there. You're getting FUT. Your particular situation, you're a repair patient, essentially. You're going in for another surgery. I mean, you've seen what this guy has pulled off with Joe.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to get a little bit, you're at a point now where like, oh shit, this is really happening. You want to get a little bit more reassurance.
Yeah, that's it.
I think you got it because I don't know if you could have made, for your situation, I think you made a great choice.
I really appreciate you guys saying that. Can if I have to call back a different day, that's fine. Could I squeeze in one more question?
Let's see. Let me look at the clock. Okay, Joe's not hangry yet. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Much appreciated. So the medicinal aspect of it, Spencer's favorite. I've been on topical dutasteride Zion for 5 months now. Had a little bit of a shed in the back, in the crown. Maybe I see some baby hairs coming. Who knows? But honestly, I want to switch to finasteride. When would be an appropriate time for me to make the switch? Should I give this topical a full year and just see what's up? So that'll take me to 5 months post-surgery? Or should I just start titrating now 4 months before surgery?
That's a tough call,
Yeah. Why are you taking topical now? Or why not oral?
Sure. So I started on topical because I took a tricho test and it said that dutasteride was what was most effective for me by overwhelmingly according to the results. Take those results as you will. I know that some people believe in them, some don't. And also because literally, I think 3 out of the 4 clinics I went to, that's what they recommended, topical dutasteride of one form or another. So I was like, you know what?
Okay.
Since my tricho
did they all offer their own version of it? Do they all sell a topical?
The majority did, but not all of them. Great question.
Exactly. With regards to the tricho test, I took the tricho test as well, and it told me the same thing.
I know.
Dutasteride. And I tried it, and it was no better for me than finasteride.
They only have one guy in the lab that just keeps typing dutasteride.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Just kidding people.
Getting paid to.
So
before we continue, I want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to revisit what we're talking about earlier before we continue.
Sure.
Spencer and I were talking about Dr. Wong and great things. I don't want there to be any confusion whatsoever. This is surgery.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Okay. No one gets a 100% hall pass when it comes, for recommendations or just. I want that to be very clear.
I know.
Because I was thinking about what we're talking about, and I realized that it could be misconstrued in sound bites that we're praising this doctor, that doctor without any caveats. That's not the case. All right, he's had bad results in the past, or patients that have come back and been unhappy, just like every doctor out there.
I know of a repair patient it was a woman really screwed up by a doctor on the east coast of Canada. I was able to get her into repair with Dr. Wong, and it didn't work out for her.
I'll put it to you guys this way. I understand that it's a game of probability, and to the best of my understanding, by choosing this doctor, because of the experience and the results I've seen, I believe that I'm increasing the probability of being satisfied.
You've definitely increased your odds, and that's the way to look at it.
That's it. Yeah. Well said.
That's it, right?
Sorry for the interruption, but yeah, you're right.
No, you're
so
totally
well done. Okay.
Now, Joe, I think that was important that you said that because there's idiots out there that will take what you said or our praising of Dr. Wong's, basic skill set and the fact that he has been a leader in this field for a long time, and be like, oh, they're just praising this one doctor and they're saying that I know this guy who's fucked up and this guy, and it happens with every doctor.
I heard about a guy.
I heard about a
guy. I hate that.
No one knows shit. That's the thing. That's the scary part. All you guys are going on the forums and going on these other social platforms and reading stories, and everyone who spends time on these places, they're in general, all they are doing is regurgitating or just putting out hearsay.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. All right, brother, listen, it was great talking to you. Thank you for the little insight about Dr. Cole and his kid. I mean, that's an interesting story.
Sorry, was that? Yeah, you didn't finish your question. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So I want to switch to oral finasteride because, after 5 months of the topical, I just realized that if this is a lifelong thing, the finasteride oral is just more realistic, and I at least want to give it a try. So when is appropriate?
Have you ever been on it?
I have not, actually, but I'm also not afraid of it.
Yeah.
I'm super healthy. I take care of myself very well. I'm not scared. I'll try different doses. I'm just not afraid. I want to try it. So should I wait and complete a full year of topical dutasteride? Should I start titrating up now and switch over? Should I wait till after the surgery? I'm 4 months out.
What are your thoughts?
And I've been on topical for 5 months.
Everything hinges on your.
Thank you for that.
Everything hinges on what you're about to say, Joe.
His future happiness hinges on my next few words.
Yeah.
No pressure. Are you taking the topical daily or every other day?
It's the life of him and his children.
Yeah.
Sorry, Spencer was talking. I couldn't hear you. What?
Daily. I do it daily. Very,
okay.
very religiously, yeah.
Okay. Once a day? Obviously.
Once a day.
Once a day. All right. You're at, okay. This is a tricky juncture because you're 4 months out from your surgery. You've been on this stuff for 5 months. You're seeing some baby hairs already. I don't like the idea of you changing at this point because you're already seeing a result. You have a couple choices. You can stay the course and have your surgery. They won't tell you to stop taking it because does it have minoxidil? Is it just dutasteride or is it combined with minoxidil?
It's just dutasteride.
Okay, so they won't ask you to stop taking it. You might have to stop taking it for a couple days, maybe. I don't know. Clarify with them, but if you stay the course, then do that. Have your surgery and reevaluate at the end of 1 year.
Awesome.
If you were to switch now, I think it's probably a bit too late because if you do have some sort of a telogen effluvium with those smaller hairs that you're dealing with, yeah, I don't think it's a good time. I would personally, if it were me, I would stay the course as it is.
I'll stick the course.
And consider changing a year from now or a year and a half from now.
Thank you for that response. I'll let you go with the following. I almost switched to dutasteride minoxidil formulation by Dr. Yeager. I had strictly a medicinal consultation with him, and I almost did it, and I didn't end up switching because I heard Spencer say, always keep something in the glove box. So I did. The combination of dutasteride and minoxidil, maybe I have to consider that way later down the line, but let's do one thing at a time. So I another benefit to listening, I believe.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad that you're going in the direction that you're going in. And I would say that I'm also a fan of taking oral. I am a fan of oral, but I'm a fan of taking the oral medication.
I was wondering if you could resist that one.
Yeah, but
He did good.
Nope.
Did good.
Yeah, dude, it's like pizza. I mean, you can't really have bad pizza, right? But anyway. I think that the fact that you're willing to try it at some point will make your life easier. And in the long run, I do believe that you want to keep that donor hair as strong as possible for the rest of your life. And you're not going to do that with topicals unless you're rubbing it all over your scalp. And it's hard. You know, how are you going to manage that?
Yeah, exactly. So, but would you agree with Joe that maybe just stick it out for a year and reevaluate then?
I think Joe gave you some really good advice.
Cool. I won't take up more of your guys' time, but I really, really appreciate all this. It really put me at ease with my decision, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.
You got it, brother. Take care.
Right on, man.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
888-659-3727 is the phone number. We'll take your calls in a second. I want to address, I happen to look at the chat room and I see May is also concerned about assessing my bank account. Are you guys out of your minds? What we do with the organization, that is a very small part of what I do in my life. That's not what Dr. Wong is counting. It's just the whole thing is, people are just unbelievable, really. You can help them, you can hand them everything on a silver platter, and they're still assholes. I'm just busting your balls, May. But really, I mean, come on. Think about that. Think about what you're saying. Jesus. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? All right. Hey, you're on the air. Okay. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
Cool. My name is Joseph. I'm in the Cleveland area in Ohio.
Hey, Joseph.
Very interesting. How's it going? Very interesting community you guys have here. This is the first time I've actually been able to kind of jump in and do your podcast live. So, very glad to be on the phone.
Glad you made it.
How'd you find us?
I found you guys through Instagram, actually.
Awesome. So do you follow me on Instagram or do you follow Joe?
Spencer, I believe I follow you or your Instagram page. That's how I
it's at Spencer Kobren, yeah. And you should follow Joe too because he knows a lot of shit. But go ahead.
Yeah, this is the first time I've actually been introduced to Joe. So, because I usually just see kind of posts of you and like you kind of stitching up like reels and stuff like that on Instagram. So, not too familiar with Joe, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna give him a follow.
You know, it's funny. I just learned. I'm so old. I just learned what the term stitching is. By the way, just the other day. So what's up?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So a little bit about me. I'm 27, or I'm 26, but I'll be turning 27 next month. I kind of started realizing that I was losing my hair probably around like 19, 20 years old. At that point in my life, I got like curly hair, so I grew it out long because I was like, well, you know, who knows how long this is going to last. You know, I'm already pulling out chunks. Grew it out, and I feel like that kind of fucked up my hair too, I'm not going to lie. Just because of like, since I have curly hair, it gets tangled, matted like super easily, so I'm always, you know, kind of running my fingers through my hair in the shower, moisturizing it, you know, conditioning it. So,
I just want to let you know, I don't mean to cut you off, that any of the stuff that you did as far as styling, touching it, moisturizing it, conditioning it, has nothing to do with your hair growth. I mean, the manufacturing process is under your scalp. So, you know, I know a lot of people believe that stuff because that's what they're sold everywhere. Old wives' tales online, don't blow dry, don't do that. It has nothing to do with your hair growth.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, the reason I said that, I mean, thank you for clarifying that. But, you know, because I'm just detangling my hair, I'm just pulling out a massive amount of hair every time I'm in the shower. You know what I mean? But that, I guess.
No, I just want to tell you. I just want to tell you that you're not causing your hair loss yourself. Okay. So don't worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's very reassuring. So I have short hair again because it was just getting too much of a maintenance issue. So I cut my hair probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and then up until like within like the last 12 months, I want to say, and just like looking back through like photos, I've just realized like how much hair I've lost and like how fast I'm losing my hair. It's like finally starting to bother me. My whole like since I was 20, I was pretty much like, all right, well it's fine. I'll just go to Turkey, get a hair transplant. Thank God I found you guys.
You're lucky, man.
Realized that like that is not the thing to do. Stay in the States. Find somebody who I don't know if there's anyone you could recommend in like the Cleveland, Pittsburgh area, or maybe I grew up in Connecticut, so like I don't have a problem going out there to possibly do a transplant.
But you may not even be, and here's the thing. And first of all, I'm so glad you found this. I want to make it clear that there are a handful of physicians, surgeons in Turkey who do great work, but they're not the cheap clinics.
Right.
Exactly.
That's just the way that it is. I mean, in order to do this correctly, there's a tremendous amount of hard costs involved. And even in countries like Turkey where things are, generally the cost of living and all that stuff is less expensive, people are paying in euros or in dollars, it's still not going to be what you're seeing online to get a good result.
Well, I'm from Albania. Like that's where I was born. My parents grew up out there, came to the States when I was like 2 years old.
Wow.
So my whole thing was like, cool, I can go to Turkey, get the procedure done for like, obviously I'm not going to do this, but like I would go there, get the procedure done for like under $5,000 and then go just chill in Albania for like a month or two and then come back to the States like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Realize that that's not the way to do it, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But, when you bring up cost of living, 100%, and that's why things, are cheaper and seem cheap. But again, you're playing with your livelihood here at this rate.
You are, and I'm glad. Listen, everything you're saying is spot on. You've done some research. I'm glad you found me and you called the program. But the one thing you have to assess, is in order to have hair transplant surgery, the first thing any responsible, honest, ethical physician is going to tell you is you have to get your hair loss in check. You want to mitigate the possibility of, if you're saying you're losing your hair quickly now, hair transplant's not going to help.
Right.
It's going to be a temporary fix. You may even have some miniaturization in the donor area. You have to be totally assessed. Most responsible physicians will tell you to get on medication for at least a year if you're not on it already. So are you taking medication? Have you seen a doctor?
No, so that's kind of why I'm calling in, is to see like, is there somebody in Cleveland or in the Cleveland area, like I said, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, even like Detroit area, that you guys would recommend? Because I'm at the point where I kind of like desperately want to get some sort of consulting from somebody who's trusted.
There's a doctor. I find him to be a real jerk, and he's not a very nice person to me. But I think he's responsible and he's good at what he does, and he's a good person. And he's a dermatologist. His name is Robert Haber, and I think he's in the Cleveland area.
Okay.
And he's one of these grand poobahs of this, trade organization, and he's got a real attitude towards me and my work, because we're honest about hair transplants and whatever and the industry. But with that said, I can't take away the guy's, talent and the ability to, be good with patients and to treat patients with respect and do the right thing for them. So. He's close, so you should have a consultation with him. Tell them when you call, you're not interested in a transplant. You just want to get your situation assessed, and you're considering medication.
Yeah, because right now I would say I'm probably like, self-diagnosed, obviously. I'm not too familiar with the skills. But I'm at like a Norwood 3, from a self-diagnosis. And like I went to go get a haircut yesterday or the other day, and the lady shows like the back of my head. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm kind of starting to, my crown, the vortex is starting to ball too, so I'm like, damn. But that being said, I started. I just went to CVS. I got a Hims minoxidil like dropper. I've been doing that twice a day since like the beginning of the year. I've been doing like some more,
so you went to CVS and picked up Hims? They have Hims at the store now?
Yeah.
That's wild. I didn't know they got into CVS. That's actually brilliant.
Oh man, that's a big move.
Yeah.
It's a power move.
Well, I mean, like I mean, this is from a business standpoint. I mean, you saw a lot of like direct to customer, like growth in like those types of businesses.
Yeah.
Those all pretty much are all back. Like they're all coming back to retail because retail sometimes is just so much more convenient. You know what I mean? Aside from just Hims, like you have there was I think like Helix sleep mattress that was like a massive one.
Yeah.
You see them in retail stores now. So.
Interesting.
So that's where I got it. Again, I don't know if I should be using Hims or a different product.
Well,
I mean, I'm sure you.
Here's how I feel. I mean, it really depends on the price point, but you're dealing with. To me, if you're going to get it retail, and you're going to the store, I'm a brand person in general.
Okay.
It's also important to know. I know this is your first step, and it's good that you're at least taking a look at this and considering medication. We do know that minoxidil can keep hair in the anagen phase longer. We do know topical minoxidil. We do know that, for some guys it could arrest their hair loss for, a significant period of time. But we also know that it's usually considered by most experts as a Band-Aid. It's kind of a temporary fix. If you're not dealing, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving you medical advice, but so you could talk to Dr. Haber, whoever you see about this, but really, you want to hit it at the hormonal level in order to really slow the progression or reverse miniaturization. Also, doctors are now prescribing low-dose oral minoxidil, which seems to be having really significant results for regrowth as well. But in the case of, for years, really, finasteride has been the key to most long-term success as far as slowing the progression or reversing miniaturization and regrowing hair. So if you're 27, you've been losing hair since 20, even before you consider hair transplant surgery, these are the medications that you really have to look at. And it's good that you considered using minoxidil. So I think you're in the right direction. You know what I mean?
So you think just taking it orally is probably the best route for now, and just kind of seeing what
Well, no,
I mean, again, I haven't even done it for a full 30 days yet, so like I'm not expecting any sort of results. I'm very realistic. I'm realistic even with the portion of the hair transplant. Like I just don't want like the amount of thinning that I have right now. I've come to terms with my big forehead. I love it. I don't really care about getting a new hairline. I just want the thickness to come back and not be so.
Well, that's an interesting point that you just made, and it's important that you said that.
I like
so
that.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you move your hair, you have a finite amount of donor area to be used. If you move that hair into your crown, the crown is is literally a vortex. It's like a black hole, So most responsible hair transplant surgeons will not transplant a young person's crown because in time, while you may think you like your forehead right now, you may need that hair to frame your face eventually. With that said, the good news is if you're losing most of your hair in the crown, then these medications really work well in the crown and the mid-anterior scalp. So it's possible once you get on medication and you're on it for several months, you're going to start to see a reversal of that. You may see a cessation of the hair loss itself, and you may actually see a lot of hair growth, especially given you've only been losing your hair for like five or 7 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Joe, what would you add to that?
Nothing. You actually covered it perfectly.
Well, that's the usual thing. I'm just trying to be nice, man.
Trying to give me a platform. Thank you, Spencer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trying to help you out here.
I feel important now.
Yeah, but I mean, I will tell you this: if you tell Bob Haber that I recommended him, he's going to drop dead. But you're probably within driving distance, So I would.
I just looked him up. Yeah, he's really close. He's
in
Beechwood, which is not. I live in. I'm not going to air where I live, but I live in Cleveland. So he's probably like a 30-minute drive for me. So
I would say, just tell him, we recommended him. You're going in for medical consultation. I just want you to call back and to hear the shit talk that he says about me.
I'm not. I don't know if I don't want to get it.
I'm just kidding. I'm fucking with you. No, look, I want you to be helped. He knows what he's doing. He's a good doctor.
Sweet. Okay. Because I just looked him up. I looked up Haber. It came up Haber Dermatology. It's like the first sponsor. And, that's it's reassuring that you can vouch for him, even though he's an asshole to you guys.
Yeah.
But the fact that, he's like first sponsor. So that's always kind of sketchy too, in my opinion. But I mean, if you guys can say that, he does good work, he's an honest man, then definitely.
I think it's sketchy, but it's also, it's an entrepreneurial business. That's what it is. So
I can't say he's honest. Like you said,
I can't say that either.
Just to address what you just said, I can't say he's honest. And in fact, I think he's an arrogant prick myself. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but he could write it. He has a prescription pad and he could help this kid.
But no, I'm not saying not to go to him. I'm just making things clear. Surgically speaking, he does do good work based on what I've seen online. Never investigated further than that. Never, I've met the guy. It is what it is. But yeah, he's great. He's a great resource for what Spencer was talking about. And I would love to see the look on his face if you tell him that it was recommended on the Ball Truth show that you go visit him. Please report back. Please call back in.
But I will tell you that he should give you. I think that at the very least he's going to be able to give you a thorough assessment of your situation, and it's good to have a doctor close. To me, it's great that you're buying over the counter stuff or you want to buy Hims, whatever it is. I think you really need to be assessed by a physician. And if you like him, he could be your doctor as far as getting your prescriptions and stuff like that. And you could also get a good idea of where you are. Like he should check your scalp for, miniaturization, map your miniaturization, see how you're doing in your donor area, see how much hair loss you actually have. Even, you have visible hair loss, but really give an assessment of how fast he thinks you're losing your hair. And they could essentially tell where the miniaturization is and where your strengths are.
My biggest fear, really, I don't mean to cut you off, but like my biggest fear is that I get to a point where it's not reversible, and that's why this year I was like, well, I need to get on top of this and really figure out like what the game plan is at this point, because like I don't want to be at a point where it's like now I really can't. And I'm 27. I plan on settling down in like the next like 5 to 7 years. And
don't do it.
That,
I'm just kidding.
I'll be honest, man. Like if I have a wife and kids and all that stuff, I don't give a fuck what my hair looks like. But like right now, I gotta look good.
Well, you say that now until your wife leaves you, and then you got to get out there again. but you're in a good position. Okay, I don't know what your head looks like, but if you're not totally unhappy with the way you look in the mirror right now, as far as the front of your, front facing, that's a good position to be in. The fact that you're losing a lot of hair on top and on the crown, it's also a good position to be in as far as medication. So
I have another question before you guys move on to the next caller. And
sure.
Again, sorry if I'm cutting you guys off. I just very excited to be on the phone with you guys for the first time. But so what are your guys' thoughts on more of like the holistic process of like, because I am kind of doing a natural, I guess, like supplements like castor oil, rosemary oil, and then pumpkin seed oil, and I just kind of massage that into my scalp, leave it in overnight with like a silk t-shirt and kind of just like let it rest, and then wake up in the morning, and then I use a Noxidil, I think is a shampoo that I use. Like it's a 3-step shampoo. And then
Nioxin?
So Nioxin,
yeah. All right. So you've essentially done everything that they were doing back in the 1980s when I was starting to lose my hair. And I will tell you that no matter what you see online, God bless these influencers. No matter what you see, even from these dermatologist influencers, and even there's a couple of guys that you probably follow that may have gotten some results from, derma rolling, and they think it's rosemary oil, but then you find out they're actually using minoxidil, and it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of time, and I promise you're not getting any results from this.
It's all just minoxidil, really. It's what's like, powering the regeneration or the stoppage of their hair loss, right?
Well, here's the thing. rosemary oil can actually penetrate the stratus corneum. It's one of the oils that can. But we don't know if it actually generates or regenerates hair or slows the progression. There have been a few questionable studies, one in particular, that now it's kind of being refuted. But that's what everyone points to. And that's what all these companies who are selling rosemary oil, including these young trichologists who go online and have big followings, and they're pushing. I'm telling you, I've been doing this for 30 years. You would not see – men aren't walking around bald by choice. That's all I'm telling you. It's very rare that unless they're shaving their head. They're not walking around combing their hair over, wearing lots of hairspray, or you're not seeing balding women or whatever because they're choosing not to put rosemary oil on their head or, whatever. None of this stuff is going to help you. That's all I'm saying. And if it did, this would not be the industry that it is. It is going to be upward. It's estimated I think for 2028, like $28 billion or something like that. So if rosemary oil and castor oil worked, we'd be in a much better position.
It'd be worth a lot more money.
Well, I could tell you they'd be charging a lot of money for it. But yeah.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
the cost of rosemary oil would go through the roof if there was anything to the claims.
Yeah. And I would endorse it. We would endorse it through the American Hair Loss Association. We'd set up some sort of we'd find the companies willing to make some special, formulation through us, and everyone would make a fortune.
Yeah. So should I kind of stop using it or continue to use it, but not really put a whole lot of truth into it?
Honestly, if it makes you feel good, you can do whatever you want, but it's not. It's probably not helping you.
Do you like clean pillowcases? Like if you like clean pillowcases, then
I mean, if you're walking around, if you're going to bed with a do-rag on,
Yeah.
I
do. No, I do. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I use I use not a do-rag, but something that's satin silk and I wrap it around my head.
Yeah, oh, dude,
and
man,
I
the
wake up
fucking
in the
internet.
morning.
Well, listen, I used to do this thing where you had to put the solution in your head. You actually had to tap it. You had to tap it, not rub it, but tap it. And I would tap that in, and I would microwave towels. And you have to understand, this was in the 80s. I had to buy a microwave especially for this. And I never forget this. And I was so religious about it. I was at this girl's house, and I brought all my stuff. And I'm like, look, I got to do this before I go to bed. And she was looking at me like, I'm surprised she didn't break up with me right there and then. But that was me, man. I was you. Until I found the truth. So that's all we got for you, man. I'm glad you found us. Medication is the key if you're a candidate. But we're not doctors. You need to speak to your doctor. I think Dr. Haber could probably help you out. And I'm glad he's close.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate, what you're doing for young men and, for myself and, taking the time to take our phone calls and really hear us out and give us sound advice.
All right. Well, spread the word, brother. If you have a platform, if you have a platform, if you spread the word, tell people to follow me on Instagram. It's who gets all the followers? All the guys who are selling bullshit.
Channel.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
I agree.
Help your fellow hair loss sufferers out and spread the word in any way that you can. And we're here every week, man. So give us a call. Do not sign up for surgery, whatever you do. That's what I'm just saying. Do not wait. Have a consultation with them. Get an assessment. Come back to us. Let us know what they provide you with. I don't know his financial situation. I don't know where he stands right now. I don't know if he's got to put some new kids into through college. I don't know the situation. All I know is that go ahead.
Yeah, I invest in real estate, and I thought we were all a bunch of pocket watchers. It sounds like just from the sound of it, man. It sounds like the hair loss industry is really where the pocket watching is, man.
It is the worst. The worst of the worst are in this industry. The lowest of the low. But there are some diamonds out there. There's some rare gems that are actually out there to help you. I do think that Dr. Haber, all kidding aside, even though, Joe's correct in his assessment and I am too, I think that he will be able to provide you with the information you need to make informed decisions, and he'll probably offer your script and say, look, you should probably be on this med.
Yeah.
So to touch back on, like, don't sign up for a surgery. So, should I be waiting? Like, when do I wait 12 months, see progress? Because, I mean, I think it's inevitable. I think I am going to need surgery at some point.
Well,
so what do you?
If he's being honest with
right
you,
now?
he's going to tell you, especially given how you described yourself, he's going to tell you, stay on this medication for at least a year and then come back and we could assess things. But it's possible that he'd say, you know what, I think we can do about 2,000 grafts for you and you'll be happy with it while you're on medication. That's a possibility too. Don't jump into it, man.
Give it like at least 12 months. Wait until, this time next year to then realize, like, to
surgery's always going to be there, and surgery's not going to stop your hair loss.
Yeah.
It's only going to replace the hair that you've lost. So the key is to try to save what you have and regrow some.
All right.
All right, brother.
I appreciate it. Spencer, Joe, thank you guys so much. Really, again, like I said, what you guys do for young men and for what you guys have done for me, taking my phone call, really appreciate it.
You got it.
You guys have a great weekend.
Our pleasure. Say hi to Dr. Haber for me.
Thanks
Take
for
it
calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'll report back.
All right. See you.
Take care.
It's a good call.
I'm just thinking, I make myself laugh because it's just, even with Jerry, whatever it is, or, the situation with Victor, I mean, look, they're good doctors. I mean, Haber's on a different level as far as, like you said, about his arrogance. But it doesn't mean that he can't help the guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Calling
a spade, he can be helped. I'm sure he would give him some sound medical advice. I think he's a big proponent of medication.
Yeah.
We hope.
So we have a full board, Joe. I know that it's getting late. Do you want to take one last call?
Let's do it.
All right.
I'm on it.
Let's see who this is. You know what? I don't know who's holding the longest.
Eeny, meeny, miny.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hello. This is Dan from Australia.
Dan from Australia. Welcome, man. We're in Australia.
Down south in Adelaide.
Wow. Okay. I think you're a first caller from Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Yeah, I might be.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
So what's happening?
Well, my question, my main question was about FUT versus FUE. That's been a hard decision for me because it seems like FUT is the most effective one if you're saving more hair that way, more grafts for the future. But the main thing that put me off was that I went to see Dr. Bazanga, Christian Bazanga, and he said that I have hyperlaxity in my scalp, and that's the main reason I shouldn't have a FUT. Does that sound right?
Hyperlaxity in your scalp. I would say that coming from Joe's world, hyperlaxity is something that you're probably going to try to go for. Maybe not hyper, but at least good laxity.
I will say there's some doctors that think that hyperlaxity is not a good thing, that it leads to more excessive scarring. Was this Dr. Bazanga's approach or his concern about your case?
Yeah, he was worried that the scarring might stretch, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or it might become bigger.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you're concerned about that.
Yeah, that would be the main thing that would put me off from FUT.
Yeah.
If that's right.
It's interesting. I've been doing this for 30 years, and Joe just taught me something because I have never ever heard of a patient with hyperlaxity that had an issue, or I didn't even know that was an issue. Now I could see if your skin is hanging off like a hot dog back, there's a chance that you're going to have. Believe it or not, you would think it would be the opposite, but you could have problems with scarring. But I never thought it would be a problem. At least it's never been brought to my attention. So I just learned something after 30 years.
Well, the idea, I've actually, sorry to interrupt, but I just want to address that. I've heard this from a couple of doctors, and the first one being actually from Dr. Alan Feller. He was talking about this, I don't know if it was privately with us as a clinic maybe 20 years ago, or if he actually posted about it online. But I've heard a couple of other doctors since then, and I don't remember the exact reasoning for that, the exact explanation. It didn't make sense to me then. And since then, I've not seen, or I don't recall seeing, a single documented case of wide donor scarring because someone had quote-unquote hyperlaxity.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen. But I've just not personally seen it, and I've seen a lot. So that's my take on it.
And how would hyperlaxity affect going in essentially blindly with FUE punches to get grafts out?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
What?
How would it affect being able to extract grafts if if your skin is that soft and pliable? Would it affect it? I know you can use a tensioner. They could tense the scalp out, or they can use to mess it, I guess. But you'd have to use a lot. So I don't know. That's in all the years I've been doing this, is the first time I feel stumped. Now I will tell you this: Dr. Prasanga is a really good guy. He's really good at what he does, and he's helped a lot of people. He's also helped people who've been really screwed up in the past. So he's probably seen and dealt with repair cases who have kind of been within that hyperlaxicity, criteria. Maybe that's where he's speaking from.
Yeah. I also had another question. Would you have any recommendations on like the lower end cost for doctors for surgeries, like on the lower end?
Lower end cost? Yeah, you can get a hair transplant in Albania for about 1,500 euros, but you don't want to go there.
Well, good. I mean, the best, good, cheapest doctor that's actually good.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. One thing I don't love talking about is price and putting that up front, because you want to find a doctor that really could potentially meet your goals, and that's the first thing. And if you can negotiate with them or the front office, then that's kind of the way to go. But that's I can't even answer that question. There are doctors on the IAHRS that they range in their price. Some of them are overseas, some of them are in Turkey, some of them are in India. So you may have better pricing options there. But yeah, I don't think that should be, while I understand cost is important for everybody, first thing you need to do is find the doctor you think meets your criteria. And then if you can find a couple that meet your criteria, and one is less expensive than the other, then that's when you can kind of throw it into the equation. What are your thoughts, Jim?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that you're absolutely right. But what the caller was asking about, cheapest, best. What was the other qualifier you're looking for? Cheapest and best, and what else?
Just like a good surgeon that's on the lower end of the cost scale. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, there's a saying that you can't. There are three things that everyone's looking for, but you can't have all three. You can only have two. I forgot the exact reference, but in this case, cheapest and best are not really something that you can find. But what I think you're asking is who's reasonably good enough to be considered approachable as a potential doctor for you that doesn't break the bank. So,
and how far are you willing to travel?
Well, there's that question. Yeah, but I think the best thing to do, I don't like answering those questions either, because then it's kind of narrowing down where I'm recommending a certain doctor for you, and if you're not happy, then I'm the one you come talk to instead of the doctor, and I don't need that kind of pressure. So what I would recommend you do is go to iahrs.org and look through the list of doctors there. Look to see who you like, who may put out some work that you feel represents what you're looking for, and then filter through those doctors, with some consultations, get their opinions on your case, and then filter through those based on price. Because if we start looking at the price as the guiding force, then you're forced to make some compromises. Where I think it'd be better for you in the end if you make compromises on the financial side of things. If even the least affordable or the most affordable person on the list is still too much for you, it's a bit easier to save for that doctor than for some other doctors, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but the guy wants you to tell him the cheapest, best doctor.
Yeah,
and that's not going to happen, buddy.
But
that's
I hope that makes I hope that makes sense for you as far as an approach goes. Work your way down or work your way up as opposed to work your way down.
I do want to put this out there, and again, every doctor has bad cases, but Dr. Bersong is a trustworthy guy. I would say that he's a religious guy. He's really good at what he does. If he told you what he told you, he believes what he's saying. That's all I can say. Yeah. And he's helped a lot of people. Now, it doesn't mean another doctor may see things differently. That's why it's called the practice of medicine. But he believes in what he's saying, not just because he wants to do FUE on you.
Ah, good. Yeah, that's good to hear.
All right, man.
I'm pretty happy with his price range. Do you think if you can't afford it, is it worth doing the payment plans and stuff, or is it better to save up and pay for it outright?
Well, I think that depends. If the surgery is bad and you're not happy, it's going to really suck to have to pay that out for a few years.
Yeah, it's going to really sting to see that invoice on your or that statement.
and pay interest on the money. I'm not a fan of interest. I'm not a fan of paying for money. If you could afford it or figure it out, I'm not a fan of financing anything. Like cars and stuff, that's different. But I don't even do that anymore, especially in this environment. So unless it's like 100% necessary and you cannot live without it and you can't afford it, then I wouldn't finance anything.
All right. Yeah.
All right, brother?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck. Let us know what you decide to do. If you have any more questions, feel free to call.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for that. That I feel a lot better about the laxity thing. It seems not to be a huge deal.
Well, like I said, all I can tell you is he is.
Don't quote me on that.
Well, but here's what I can say. He's one of the few really honest physicians in this field, and that's hard to find in the world of hair transplant surgery.
Yeah. I liked, had a good impression, so I think I might go with him.
Well, that's absolutely your choice, but I have nothing but good things to say about him. But you never know. There's not a doctor that works, that's a part of the IHRS that, works within, our sphere that who doesn't have a patient who believes they fucked him up. That's just cosmetic surgery. All right, brother?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Take care.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're not going to take any more calls.
Well, we got Harris from last week.
Holding on?
TikToker. I believe so. He asked us to let him come through.
All right.
Harris, are you still?
You know
on
what?
hold?
I just noticed that the other lights were lit. He just called while this guy was on, so I think this is him.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, is this Harris?
Hello?
Hello.
This is Jason. I sometimes go by J International. Sorry if you were expecting Harris. And you
Oh my God, Jason, how are you, man?
Hey, man.
Hi. So I see you guys want to wrap things up, so I won't talk too long. But I did had a couple questions. I had my own question and I had a couple comments. But one thing is just amazing.
Before you do, Jason, sorry, Jason. Before you do, I got to tell you, buddy, I am so fucking happy for you. The latest video that you put out on your channel, I'm so happy for you. Like the journey you've been on, like if people knew the journey you've been on, you would be talked about a lot more. Your story is like it's crazy to begin with, but where you are right now, I could not be happier for you. I was so elated to see that update. Congratulations. I say that from my heart. I really do. Congratulations.
I don't know anyone in an industry full of insanity and madness that has a journey as crazy as mine. We don't have time to talk about it, but that's why I
no,
have
of
my
course
own
not.
channel.
Yeah.
But I do. You've been there with me, and you've helped me through it, and you're absolutely right, and I'm extremely happy about that. But I was just thinking as I listen to people, and it's just funny just how unscrupulous doctors continue to be and how these like magic potions and topical solutions, there's just a whole industry waiting to prey on people. And I'm just like, I don't tune into this channel that often and even watch forums that often, but it's just strange how little changes, even with the internet.
Oh, it doesn't change. Actually, it just gets worse. It devolves. And for the guys that have a Trump haircut, thank you, by the way. That's so kind of you. Go ahead. Sorry, brother.
So my story too long to go all through, but just for people listening, what has finally worked for me is just a combination, on the hair transplant front, a combination of body hair and head hair, and that was like a last resort for me. I put myself in a somewhat desperate situation. So on my kind of vertex, I have actually mostly beard hair, but in the front and the crown, I have a large amount of head hair, and if you see my pictures or videos, it really has worked well. And then the final piece of the puzzle has been oral minoxidil and finasteride. And I just never thought it was going to happen for me. I mean, I got transplants and it looked all right, and then it all fell out. And that was actually probably for the best because some of those hair transplants sucked and they're all pluggy. But so, yeah, you've got to watch out for how unscrupulous people are. So many medicines are just bullshit, basically. And I think just like most topicals suck, and just the oral meds are the way to go and try to overcome the side effects. One other thing, the guy was asking about the cheapest doctor.
Yeah.
And I went for that. I went for the cheapest and closest doctors, and there are worse things than being bald. I have found that having a bad haircut is one of those, but you don't want to do that. Just don't bother getting a hair transplant if you can't afford the best. Charge more for a reason. So go for those. Anyway,
that's well said. And I think the idea that there are worse things than going bald. These kids don't understand that. They just don't get it. They don't get it until they are butchered.
So in the beginning of my journey, I did have the strip surgery, and this is my first question. I still, to this day, have like a strip scar, like the occipital lobe scar.
Yeah.
And I've got SMP, and the only thing I can do is grow my hair longer. Like, and I haven't really kept up with the industry, but what would you suggest, and there might be nothing, for someone who is still bothered by a strip scar and just wants to not grow their hair too long?
Joe?
if anyone is the person to talk to, it's you, because you've had so
I
many
know,
surgeries.
I know.
Like okay, I'll tell you what I've found. Like in my own case, you know, Dr. Wong, my last surgery, which was an FUE surgery with him in 2019, 100 grafts of my scalp hair were put back into my occipital donor scar. It wasn't stretched or anything. It was kind of like the icing on the cake for making it as invisible as possible, and it worked fantastic. The only issue I have with having had so many strip surgeries is the change in direction of growth from above to below the scar line. That in and of itself is an issue because the hair direction change is visible. The scar is not visible. Like, there's video of me after my surgery with my head shaved, and you can't really see the scar. Like, if you look, you can, but the average person would have zero clue that there's even a scar there. So that's how good that turned out. And then the growth, and I'm talking about the old scar, the growth in the from the placement, and I've not shaved my head since then, but I know that it's growing in there. And when there's a comb through, it's virtually as close to invisible as you can legitimately get by having hair growing in the scar. Now, in your case, you don't have a whole lot of scalp hair to deal with, or that you probably want to deal with. I could be wrong. But it doesn't take a lot to really make a huge difference. That's the great thing about FUE into scar. A small investment of grafts can lead to a huge return on the aesthetic. So if you have any beard grafts that are available, any more beard grafts, it wouldn't take much. 100 just to break it up, and you're good.
So again, for your listeners, I actually have two scars. I had this very significant head injury scar that Joe Tillman was really key in helping me fix with Dr. Wong, and he did a great job. And that is like totally concealed now. But this strip scar, there's just something, it's like indented. And I have put some hair in it, and maybe if I just kept putting more hair in it, but it almost seems like I need like balloon surgery or something because the laxity is so poor. I can't just like excise it.
You know what? Sorry, I wasn't thinking about that. So it's not the persistent stretching that you have. It's the indentation that you have from having a strip surgery. The only way.
Yeah, because funny.
The only way.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. And what's causing that is when that strip is removed, the upper layers of tissue are brought together, but there's kind of almost like a you could almost call it an open air gap below the incision line that never fills in. And so when everything heals up, it just kind of settles down because there's nothing pushing it up. There's not much tissue underneath it. So if you take the strip out and you're pulling just the top of it together, it's almost like it's hollow underneath. That's not actually what's going on, but that's the analogy I can give. It's almost like it's hollow, so it's kind of an indentation on top of it because there's nothing pushing up below it. Does that make sense?
You've described it perfectly because the color, like I've had SMP, the tattooing, and I have some hair there, and it's kind of camouflaged, like the color matches it. But yeah, it's concave, and I just cannot. Yeah. The hair has to grow over it. Is the only way I have found, and I'm not like embarrassed that I've had a hair transplant. So if people see it, I don't freak out, but I don't like it. But so you've described it well. But other than balloon treatment, do you know any other way that it could be dealt with?
Some sort of fat injection. I'm spitballing on this one, because I've never heard of it being done.
Sure.
But some sort of fat injection, like they'll do for other parts of the body to plump things up.
You could do filler.
That might.
You can use filler. Problem is fillers can migrate. But women do it, put it in their face all the time. So, that's a possibility as well, like a Juvederm type of a product.
Yeah, and for people listening, just as a side note, the caller's YouTube channel is a hair raising tail, and I'm going to put the link as well in the chat room so people can check it out. I'm pretty sure you go into your full history at some point on your channel. Is that right?
Yeah, I have starting in the beginning. I have my full history, and then recently it's just been what I would have to call miraculous, coming back from almost Norwood 7 to a very good amount of hair now that looks quite natural.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do have my whole history on it, and I appreciate you mentioning the channel if anyone cares to watch it.
Yeah, no, I just put it in the chat room, and I'll put it in the description later on because I do want people to see your incredible journey. And just so everyone knows, it's because of this guy I got my first experience doing body hair extractions via FUE with my own hands. Remember that?
That is true. Of course, I still have the scars to remind me. But,
yes, exactly.
I have another quick question. And if you saw the video, I have this one little bit of transplanted hair that just the angle seems to be wrong. Sort of removing it. And if I'm going to get it removed, how would you deal with that? If you just had this one piece of clump of hair right near the hairline, I can cover it up, but how would you deal with that?
Dude, I had a double hair graft from my old surgeries that was still giving me a problem. Not so much aesthetically, there was an aesthetic issue with it, but I was able to kind of overlook it. But it was actually causing, it was pitted as well. So every once in a while it would get slightly infected. This is years later after my, even after my repair surgeries. And one day I just had it. It was eating at me so much. I went in Dr. Wong's office. I said, will you please get this motherfucker out of my head? I am so over this. And he started laughing. He goes, yeah, come on, let's go. So he just did a quick FUE punch out of it and took care of it. Done. That's the only way you can. Well, I don't want to say the only way, but that's most likely the only way that would be the most effective that you'd want. But there's also the option of laser, or electrolysis would probably do it. Those are non-surgical options I'd look at first: laser or electrolysis, depending on what's available in your area.
All right, brother. Listen, we're gonna take this last call because I know they wanted to take it, and then we're gonna go.
Okay.
But thanks for the call. You definitely went through a tremendous journey, and people should check out this guy's channel.
Thank you, and thank you for the advice, Joe.
You got it, brother. Take care. Bye bye.
See you, Jason. Bye bye.
All right, let's take this and get the hell out of here. Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, Spencer, it's Harris.
Harris, how are you, man?
I'm
there
good.
He is.
So one of my
You're fucking with me in the chat.
No, someone asked me on. So I put your derma roller video on. Yeah, I clipped it onto my TikTok, and I had a few kids commenting, "Oh, why is the proof?" I said, "Go on the fucking internet, look up Spencer Kobren, and then come back to me." And nobody replied. They're like, "Oh, he's not a physician. He's not this. He's wearing a topi." Someone said.
Well, listen. I'm in the hair business. You know, I mean, that's what they're going to say. If it's a guy who's almost 60 years old that still has a head of hair, even though, I got to spray it and stuff like that. And I've been talking about this for so long. It's either, like John Cole said, I don't have any hair loss, which he said publicly, which is insane, or I'm wearing a wig, or, my hair is, whatever. Like this guy in this chat, even Moses can't part my hair. I'm going to get shit. That's the way it is.
So Spencer, I've seen one of your registered doctors do a FUT on a 22-year-old about 4,300 grafts. What was your opinion on that? Because you don't really push for young guys to go for surgery.
I don't know what my opinion was. Who's the doctor? And it really depends on the situation. It depends on the specific patient. There are doctors, some really well-known doctors who, in a specific case, depending on the patient, they'll do an FUT, especially on a young guy.
Yeah.
It was Dr. Ted.
Yeah. Dr. Ted's he's really good at what he does.
Yeah, no, I was just asking your opinion because obviously the guy was young who had 4,300 grafts.
Yeah. I mean, you would have to ask. I haven't seen that particular patient, but you'd have to ask Dr. Ted himself. But I can tell you that there was probably a reasonable reason why he had the surgery, and the fact that he had strip, to me, kind of shows that Dr. Ted is looking at the the long game for this kid.
Yeah, I think he did mention the guy's on long-term medication before he went for surgery.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, and that's why I think it's also important listen. Everything's changing, so fewer doctors are doing strip today. But if you could find a young guy like Dr. Ted who's offering both procedures, to me, it really puts especially younger patients in a much better position to make informed decisions. A young guy goes for a 4,000 graft FUE, in my view, they're done.
Yeah. What's better, FUT or FUE?
It depends. There's nothing better. It's not that it's better. It's just that, we've talked about this a lot, but
it's just a question which one's more appropriate.
Yeah, it's about what's more appropriate. And also, you also have to understand the entire scope and pitfalls of each surgery. The only reason to have FUE is because people want to avoid having a linear scar. It's usually a different and easier healing process. There's no suturing involved. The downside is you're not extracting grafts, or you're not able to cut follicular units using a three-dimensional view, using a microscope and a scalpel or a razor blade. So you're essentially going in with every punch, you're going in semi-blind. It takes a tremendous amount of touch, nuance, and understanding of the anatomy and experience to do that well.
Yeah, I think I've got some kind of, duper. I think because before I had the hair transplant, I think that's why the previous doctor turned me down. How could I, reverse this duper?
You may not be able to, but, usually people who respond well to medication who have DUPA will see that reverse just like any other type of androgenic alopecia. Now, I'm curious. I'm lost. You said you have a channel on TikTok. I forgot. Joe mentioned that. That's why he wanted me to take your call.
Yeah.
What's the channel?
It's hxris.h. If anyone wants to follow, I can drop it in the comment. I might be doing a video tomorrow of my 13-month hair transplant. Obviously, it didn't go as well as I expected, but I'll be going for a shorter haircut tomorrow. So I'm cutting my hair short to see if I can rock it better short.
Well, I would say that. I mean, I don't think. Have I seen your pictures? You follow my Instagram. You're the guy that called in. You're the guy whose clip that I used on Instagram. Who got botched? Who says you got botched in Turkey, right?
Yeah, Joe's got me on Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have to take a look. At your pictures. So, what does he look like, Joe? Does he look like he has DUPA?
I didn't notice any DUPA. I didn't notice anything that would indicate DUPA. But I've also not seen the back, so yeah. Send me some photos.
Yeah, guys. So we were meant to call today. I think me and Spencer Stevenson, but obviously,
Spencer, he contacted me early. He said he had to cancel.
Yeah, so I was looking forward to that call at 7.
Well, we'll do it. We'll definitely do it again. And yeah, you could tell your followers and fans that they could follow me. They could ask me all about my hair. Or they can make fun of it, or they can love it. I get it. I get all different different comments doing what I do. But people want to believe what they want to believe. You know that, Harris, right? And and what they want to believe is they want to believe that they can get their hair back with derma rolling. They want to believe they can get their hair back using rosemary oil. They want to believe that just because I'm not a doctor. Let me tell you something about doctors. And this is something that young people should know.
Yeah.
I have respect for a handful of physicians who really care about what they're doing in this field. Doctors, they just go down the line. They go to school. They maybe do well in high school. They're able to get into medical school. They follow a path, and it's a very typical path. It's also very political. And once they become a doctor, it doesn't mean that they know it all. This is what they know. They were able to pass their exams. They were able to become a doctor. It doesn't mean that they know shit about certain things. Especially if they're younger, they don't have enough experience. Those people who are in this field like dermatologists who are promoting all this happy horse shit online. It's amazing to me that they're willing to do that, but all they want is clicks.
Yeah, I had a few people comment on my videos, "Oh, you're a good-looking guy. Stop the medication, and don't take the risk." I'm like, I'm taking this medication till I'm your age, Spencer. Because however long I want to rock my hair till a certain age, because
I'm a good-looking guy because I'm taking the medication.
No, someone said, "You're a good-looking guy. Why are you taking the medication?" And I'm going to take this medication till I'm, certain age, 50, 60, to, maybe I can cope with it.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, people are stupid in general. I mean, that's a really dumb comment. Well, yeah, I would like to stay a good-looking guy, or I would like to at least feel better about myself. Even if I do look good without hair, I want to continue to maintain hair. As long as you're not having any adverse side effects and you feel comfortable taking it, you take it, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I've been in the same situation as you, Spencer. Like, I had, SMP, I was sold the dream. I had laser, the laser machine. I had that done. I had SMP density. Then I had shaved SMP. I had PRP 6 times. I had PRP elsewhere. Like, I was just getting, just ripped off. Like, I was like them kids that are just eager to, like, get my hair back. And then I went for the hair transplant, and then that didn't work out. And now I've learned a lot from the show, and, like, I'm advising guys to not go to Turkey. People are ringing me every other day that I know. "Oh, bro, where did you go, Turkey? This, that. Give us the details." I'm saying, no, don't go, but they don't want to listen.
No, they don't. And even if you talk about your bad experience, they're still going to say, well, that was just you. That's not going to happen to me.
They said, "Oh, it was because of your own fault that you got it done." They're blaming me, saying it's my fault when who did the surgery, me or them? So it's fun of them.
Exactly. And that's what they want to believe. They want to believe. And there's also a lot of nasty people online, as you know. So, you're doing a good thing by trying to guide people in the right direction, brother.
Yeah, I know, because obviously the clinic did offer, they said that I can get paid a referral, and I could have made crazy money off this. Like, I could have sent 20 kids there and made £200 per person. Like, but I didn't want to, I don't want to see anyone in the same situation or worse.
Well, I'm glad you should be proud of that.
Good man.
And, there's a lot of things you can do. If you have a good following online, like you said, I should check out your TikTok, but I don't even have it on my phone. But, just keep doing the right thing, man. And if we can help you, we will. We'll continue to help you. And when Spencer Stevenson gets it together and has the time to record, I'm sure he'll call you, and I'll be on the line with him, and we can record something.
So how can we do the call? Can we do a video call?
Yeah, if you want to be on video, we can do that, sure.
Because what I'll do is, before we do this, I'll make a video on TikTok, and I'll say I'm going on a Bold Truth podcast, and if you guys want to join, that way they can see me, my followers, and a lot of guys that are losing hair, and they can join the podcast. Yeah,
we normally don't go live for the podcast, but we can do it. Maybe we can do it on, I could actually probably do it on Instagram, live as well. We can do it on YouTube or Instagram, but we'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we can definitely videotape you. I mean, we can definitely bring you in live.
Instagram's not really. If you can go live on TikTok or Instagram, I don't mind.
I can definitely go live on Instagram. I don't have TikTok, or I don't use it. I have one, but I don't use it. I don't even know how to go live on there.
Oh, but, Joe has it. Yeah, Joe has it.
But yeah, I mean, I can bring. I'm pretty sure that I can bring this software into Instagram now and go live for sure, and I could have you on camera.
Okay, no worries. That sounds good.
All right, brother. Yeah, so tell your fans not to be jealous about my hair, okay?
I don't know. I might have to keep clipping some more videos of yours on my TikTok to piss them off. I was considering of getting a derma stamp, for my hair, and I'm thinking now, I can't be asked. I'm just sticking to the medication, for a bit.
Well, I actually think that you're probably going to be better off. All right, brother. Listen, thanks for the call. We're going to call it a night.
All right, Spencer. All right, Joe. Thank you.
Have a good one. You take care.
Yeah, buddy. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
So I'm going to give out Harris's TikTok. It's at hxris.h. I'll even type it in the chat room and put it in the description for later. But in the chat room,
Send me a
right
link
now. You
to
guys
it.
can check it out. Yeah.
I'll check it out.
H. There you go. It is in the chat room. You guys can plug that into TikTok and go see Harris and his journey.
That's it. Let's call it a night.
All right. Good show.
I have to deal with the Trump insults.
Appreciate everyone's calls.
I'll deal with the Trump insults. Jesus, what a world
I'm
we live
just waiting. See, now I know there's going to be another comment on one of the platforms about how we berated a caller, a patient.
About what?
This whole May thing. It's like how we're being condescending or something like that.
Oh, who the fuck cares?
No, you remember like someone was saying.
I remember. It's ridiculous. Listen, think
when
about
Hampton called in.
Yeah,
saying that we're giving a hard time. It's like that's not what happened.
No, it doesn't matter what happened. It's the internet. Let them. The more they talk about us, even if they talk shit about us,
I think it's funny.
Yeah, the better. That's just the way that it is. People want to get help. They tune in. They figure it out themselves. People aren't stupid. If people spend, watch a couple of episodes, they'll be like, wait a second. That's bullshit. That's it. And those who don't, they're idiots. What are you going to do? This is the world we live in today. There's a lot of angry people in the world that they spend their time online trolling other people.
That's what they do.
What are you going to
do? What they do. All right. It's a good show, though.
Very good. Guys, we're going to go. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to take my my Trump-haired ass to dinner. It's Trump the early years, by the way. Early years.
The early years now?
It's Trump the early years.
Okay. All right.
Fuck yourself. Until next time, guys, be strong.
All right.
God bless. And thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.